Hey guys, how are you? It's Kim Marshall here from Swell Public Relations. I'm the host of the Global Wellness Summit podcast. This is a really special day today. It's one of our last leader live casts, if not the last, before the Global Wellness Summit in Palm Beach, Florida, which is part in person, part virtual, a real innovator in the way of having healthy meetings. But it is fitting that today we are dealing with living history. You know, in the podcast, we've already interviewed the managing director of Rancho La Puerta, which was established in 1940 as the first destination spa in North America. And who could believe, do you see my t-shirt or my sweatshirt? Esalen, 1962. There were two young Stanford grads in the audience at Rancho La Puerta when English philosopher Aldous Huxley of Brave New World fame was speaking about human potential and spirituality and enlightenment. And they were inspired. So inspired that Michael Murphy and Dick Price in 1962 went to, I guess it was Michael Murphy's, it was the property of one of the Michael Murphy's grandparents owned property on the coast of Big Sur, California, with naturally occurring hot springs called, back then it was called Big Sur Hot Springs, but they changed the name to Esalen, and it became the craziest place. I mean, can you believe it? I mean, when you think of the things that started there, Hunter Thompson was there, the Gestalt founder, Fritz Perls, Abraham Maslow, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the list goes. But let's just see if Terry is, oh, I think he is. I think he's trying to join us. Sandberg, so proud. It's his first Instagram Live, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, the home of the human potential movement, alternative medicine, new age, mind-body interventions, Eastern religion and philosophy. Terry made it. I'm so
Good morning.
proud. Now I know why you're a CEO. You can master Instagram Live in one day.
Oh, believe me, I had a lot of tech support in the background. So my hat's off to Peter, who took me through the steps of getting us on here. So it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It is so intimidating, but then once it's done, it's just the platform. I just want to show you that I'm wearing my Esalen sweatshirt. Thank you. That's fantastic. A bold promotion. But, you know, we've all heard about Esalen. I think people under 50 are kind of like, what is that again? So before we get into our questions of inspiration, Terry, tell me how you define Esalen.
So technically, from a more business perspective, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization focused on the exploration of human potentiality. And we've been around since, I think we were formed in 1962 by Michael Murphy and Dick Price.
According to my sweatshirt, you were, yeah.
I'm correct. Good. I should know my facts. But I think more importantly, once the legal parameters and the business parameters out of the way, we're really about exploring connection and about exploring awareness practices. And one of the things that Esalen does so beautifully well is, and I heard you chatting about Maslow and Maslow's pyramid, you know, it really sets people up with security at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid when they come to Esalen, that mental, that psychological, physical, emotional safety that allows people to step into a level of actualization they may not have done before. And that is through connection to self, connection to others, and connection to nature. Where in a world where we have probably more connectivity than humankind has ever experienced in its past, I think we are less connected as human beings. So that's more of the woo-woo spiritual side that we take on.
But it's so much deeper. I mean, I loved reading one of your articles when you described how important awe is, AWE, in the experience. Yeah. I mean, I'll just tell the story that my family has always gone to Big Sur. It's kind of an annual ritual. We always eat at Nepenthes, taking nothing away from the wonder of Nepenthes. I took my partner, Darlene Fitz, to take a look at the view of Nepenthes, which I always thought was so great. But I forgot I had just seen Esalen. It was so much even more awe-inspiring. How does that help?
It helps a lot. There's a lot of research out there, pioneered in great part by Daka Keltner, who has spent actually quite a lot of time at Esalen. He's been on our faculty, around how awe cracks us open as human beings. If I can give an kind of an experience, that moment when you stand at the base of 100+ foot redwood and you just look at it and you feel kind of small in the universe. It's just that awareness again of our place in the universe and how vast and amazing it is. You drive down the hill, you take a turn off Highway 1 and you come down quite a steep hill after some kind of Joseph Campbellian journey on the twists of Highway 1, where you lose cell signal for the last 50 minutes of your journey. So everybody gets worried because their GPS doesn't work and they think they've missed the place. But you come down this hill and laid out before you is the very edge of the United States. You look out over a beautiful garden which grows food for Esalen. You look out over a lawn that has seen the likes of the Beatles. It has seen the likes of philosophers and practitioners in yoga, the greats of the world, Maslow himself. And then you look out over the vastness of the ocean. And it really does create a sense for people of that moment of, wow, I am part of something bigger. There is such a relationship with nature in that moment that I think we recognize our humanity to a much bigger extent. And Daka Keltner's research is phenomenal on this space.
But it's convenient that it was there, but it's also such an integral part of it. I'll also add that those hot springs, you always hear about the Esalen baths and this nudie thing, and are they doing the massages in the nude and everyone in the nude? And when you go, it's just such a natural extension of the earth in a safe environment. I'm going to show a picture later of one of the tubs. But I've been having trouble sleeping that week for whatever reason. And I get there and do a soak, and I slept like a dead woman. I was like,
that's good to hear.
Now,
it's an experience that a lot of people say, actually. They say that when they disconnect, I mean, we don't have cell service. We're in this amazing kind of magical bubble where the cell service has not reached us yet to a great extent. We have limited internet, and people disconnect and reconnect to themselves. And they do say that they have much better sleep. They have much better rest. And I think we sometimes confuse sleep and rest as being the same thing. I don't think they are. And there is a magic to the land of Esalen. It is deeply steeped in the indigenous peoples of Monterey's, have been there for centuries, for thousands of years. And it is a super interesting place because of its geology, the thermal waters. It's one of the few places in the world, I think you can probably count them on two hands, where a natural spring, the ocean, and a hot spring, thermal waters, all come together in one place and actually meet. There aren't many of those around in the world.
I was on a phone call last night with the Hot Springs Initiative for the Global Wellness Summit, and we're talking Japan, Australia, Slovakia, and to think, that these hot springs are Mother Nature's warm embrace to try to heal you. And if you're working on your mind at the same time, it's too much. Now, Yahoo News said that Esalen may be one of the most recognizable brands today in the transformational economy. So we have Esalen to thank for things like personal coaches, gurus, retreats, self-improvement. So I guess it didn't start with the Beatles' trip to India?
No, I think if we look back over our history, the work that Michael and Dick, when they founded Esalen, it was to create a place where the practices could be explored of those things which were very much on the fringe in the 60s. Meditation, yoga, therapeutic psychology, encounter groups. All of these things were emerging in the 60s and 70s and have since blossomed and gone out into the world. And you can find, thankfully, you can find a drop-in meditation center in downtown Manhattan. You can find yoga on the high street of Brisbane, Australia now. These are things that I actually don't think would have happened had Michael and Dick, they wouldn't have happened in the same way, had Michael and Dick not brought Esalen together in a way that blended the philosophy of the East with the psychology and the emerging human psychology movement of the United States. It was an amazingly beautiful coming together.
And I do see that the media has played a large role in your fame, I guess you could say, in your brand awareness. We have to say it. Time Magazine, New York Times, Look Magazine, and now you have the Voices of Esalen podcast. And I saw that you just had someone there that was a Harvard grad who believes in microdosing and the powers of LSD. So it's still move the boundaries and explore, right? What you say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's standing on the edge between normalcy and chaos, and just in tolerating as much of that uncertainty as we can humanly endure. Part of Esalen's mission is to have people step into wouldn't experience. There's an old model called, I think it was by Dodson, called Eustress and Distress, and how we learn as human beings while enduring eustress, which is a good form of stress. If we're just lying on the beach staring into nowhere, we're not actually really probably learning much. But when we're put under a little bit of pressure, we learn. Now, too much pressure, we go over the crest and we go into distress, and we start to lose control of many of our faculties. And ultimately, if you go too far, people completely shut down, of course, flight or freeze, or fight. But this gentle walk on that edge between eustress and distress, and this optimal learning capacity about what are we capable of as humans? What are our human potentialities, as Huxley would talk about it? It since became known as the Human Potential Movement. But if we go back to the roots of Huxley's writings, he would talk about it as potentialities, that which we are capable of, but we don't yet believe ourselves to be capable of. I think we are all innately capable of much more than we think.
Well, I want everyone to know how shocking it was to find out, the dogs are going to start barking because my door is opening, but that Esalen massage therapists, touch therapists, are busy and have trained people in Italy, Germany, Switzerland, Spain, Japan, Bali, China, and Taiwan. We could talk for days, Terry, but tell us just briefly what happened when you were surprised in China, when you went to speak somewhere.
Oh, well, I spoke in China at a pretty large conference, and in America our holistic centers gatherings are quite small by number, and I stepped into a very large conference which was attended by over 3,000 people. But I think the interesting thing about China right now, and we've been doing a lot of conversations with China, is their exploration for a spiritual framework, not religious, but spiritual framework. And it's really interesting to hear them talk about what they want to do is they want to Easternize the Western practices that we took from them 50 to 60 years ago. And so Esalen became this rock star at this conference. I went over thinking I was giving, a little talk. Turned out it was to 2,000 plus people, and it looked like Esalen had been co-opted as the co-sponsor for the event. So there's definitely, to your point earlier about brand awareness, I've got no qualms talking about brand awareness. I think, sadly, we talk about 501c3s as if they're not businesses. They are. And so, market, brand awareness, product market fit, all of these things are super, super important to us.
Well, I don't know how businessy people would think Esalen is just on the surface, right? They think about Esalen and meditating and woo-woo, but to know that there's a brain like yours guiding it right now. Tell us really quickly about your journey. I think your journey to the position of CEO there started in the kitchen. Am I right?
Yes. I came to Esalen as a student, actually, a month-long psychology program to study Gestalt psychology. I was looking at how might that be applied in a business setting. And to cut a long story short, I went from dishwasher to CEO in about 6 months. I think that's probably goes down in the history books of Esalen for sure. But yes, I had a business background. We were at a period in 2017 where Esalen was closed. We lost the bridge to the south of us, to the north of us, and we had landslides to the south. We were literally an island. We had to helicopter people out. And, I had some background that could help. And so I offered that. And 6 months later, I was reopening the organization as the general manager. And then very shortly after that became the CEO.
All right. So that brings me to the question. You have not been at Esalen since 1962, but you do know the history and you've been there through some challenges. Look, you just said the highway was closed in 2017. We know that in the 80s, I guess it was, Dick Price was killed in a hiking accident there. There's another roadblock and terrible tragedy. And then how long ago did a fire just happen?
Yes.
I mean, when I was there, Terry, I thought it was like over the hills. And I looked up, it was the hill overlooking Esalen. So tell us how you survived all these things.
Yeah. Dick passed away in 85, actually up in the canyon. We have a canyon that bisects the property and connects back up into the wilderness. And Dick was a great hiker and wilderness person, so he loved nature. And that was very, very unfortunate. But we actually closed for the pandemic on March the 15th, as many organizations did. Always, I'm sure for everyone on this call, the safety of guests and staff is primary. So we made the decision to close for the second time in 3 years, which is not insignificant for a 501c3 organization. And we lost all of our revenue. We had just reopened, actually, having completely reinvented many of the parts of the business to manage social distancing and COVID safety. We reopened for 2 weekends, and I got a knock at my door. I think it was a Wednesday evening, might have been a Tuesday evening. And our facilities director said, I think we may have a problem. And literally, you could see the glow over the hill. A fire had started a couple of miles down the road. And within the period of about 18 hours, it was literally at our doorstep, and we had to evacuate again. We preemptively evacuated in support of the firefighters and the rescue services to make sure we were out of their way. And I've just got to say, a hats off to Big Sur Fire. That's a volunteer organization, to CAL FIRE, to the U.S. Forestry Service firefighters, and to Vandenberg Air Force Base, who sent crews down. They actually had a truck in one of our locations who kept us safe as this fire kind of rolled over the hill. All of our staff were evacuated for 5 weeks. And a shout out to the Red Cross as well, who, when there was 100,000+ people evacuated in the area because of other fires in the Santa Cruz and Carmel area, the Red Cross did an outstanding job. I just can't say enough about them. But it was 5 weeks before we could get back. No buildings burnt, but we lost a lot of our facilities infrastructure, like our water system. We had obviously been without power for 5 weeks. So the poor kitchen had to walk in and fix a not very pleasant situation in the kitchen with all of the food that had been left behind when we literally had 2 hours and left the property. It's been a challenging year.
I would say, and some things are precious landmarks and historical milestones in the history of the U.S. and the world. And I just stood in your lawn and looked at that charred hill over my head and thought, that's how close it came. That is how close it came. Now, I loved your article that talked about my favorite quote, and I circled it 3 times. It was actually Lenin who said, there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen.
Yes.
And so turning this into creativity, Terry, one thing we need to tell people about is your healing arts and somatics program. I don't even know if they understand the word somatics because it was sort of new to me, and I live in the wellness world. So that is sort of mind body through movement, right? Is that a short way to say it?
Yeah, that's a really good way to say it. I've just got to say, I never thought that I would quote Lenin in a business article, but it is so apropos for what has gone on this year, because not only have we had the external events, and that context has shifted so dynamically, but we've had to make a lot of changes internally, and really our healing arts team has taken a lot of impact in the changes. California and our county have just turned on indoor massage from a safety perspective, so we're getting geared up to do that again. But Esalen Healing Arts is a really, it's a unique thing because it is not just about massage. It is about a whole approach. And I think one of the things that struck me most after spending a little bit of time with our practitioners was that we have practitioners who have been working in Esalen Healing Arts for literally 45 years.
I had a massage from one, Terry.
Right. And if you think about that relative to the rest of the industry, you know, the trainings that we are giving people, the way it is evolving and developing, they have created, I would say, because I'm a new kid on the block here. They have created something that allows a practitioner to continue to practice for decades. And I don't know what the normal life of a massage practitioner is in the industry these days, but everybody tells me it is not 45 years. And we have people who are actively still practicing 3+ sessions a day, which may not sound like a lot, but all of our sessions are 90-minute sessions. And it's incredible. It's incredible. So it's not just a practice that is given to the people who come and are on the table. It starts before they get on the table, but it's not just for them, but it's also for the practitioners themselves to take care of themselves, to have longevity in their career, and to apply their skills to give and offer their gifts to people for decades.
And, you know, you talk about connectivity, you know, reconnecting with self. There's nothing, you know, your massages, we work with you, not on you, right? And the way
Yes.
it's sort of like Tai Chi and Aikido. And my girlfriends and I were saying that it's the knowing hands. We could even, Brita was she's living history. She was there in the very beginning and she's still massaging. She would talk to your body while she was doing it. Yes. And couple that with the ocean you're hanging above, and it's really great. But anyway, the other thing is movement. You know, our mutual friend Douglas Drummond is a 5 rhythms instructor. I was a dance minor in college, and we forget that movement releases, right? We're so like, so yeah. Why do you think that's important?
Well, I think it's, we get locked into one side of our brain, and it's so easy. I mean, even today, in this conversation, it's a 2-dimensional conversation on a digital platform. It's easy to get locked into that one side of your brain. Movement, getting back into your body, actually listening to your body. We feel things. You know, emotions are felt, sense inside your body. So reconnecting with that body with movement, not only is it, you know, physically healthy, but it's emotionally healthy. And to express many of our emotions through movement is incredibly releasing for a lot of that pent-up energy. And for many people, it's a new experience. You know, hang out in a room and do 5 rhythms with 20 other people, and you're going to feel a little bit self-conscious to begin with. I'll use my Gestalt I would feel a little I do feel a little self-conscious to begin with. And then you suddenly realize this is a complete group experience, and everybody is there together, and they're actually probably less interested in what you're doing and more interested in what they're doing. And so once you can step through that and begin to move the body, it's transformational as an experience.
My husband is a trophy-winning salsa dancer, but I keep saying, why should he have all the fun? We all need to learn to move. You know, that's not right. So, Terry, through all of this, we ask everyone, we can guess, but what were your toughest days as a leader, and also your best day? What would you tell us through this shutdown?
Wow. I think I think probably my toughest day was when I had to make the decision to close Esalen in March. It was our second closure. It was before the county had come out and said, you will close. But we recognized that to do that effectively and gracefully and to ensure the safety of everybody involved, we needed to just close the organization, recognizing that that was our entire revenue stream. And it was a very difficult decision. It meant that we had to lay off a lot of staff. We are a very people-intensive organization, and the impact was really, really high. It was a difficult decision, as history books show us. It was the right decision, but it was a very, very difficult decision, and it was quite lengthy in our thought process.
Well, what do you think? You have the focus now on your new subsidiary of Esalen Healing Arts. What else is giving you hope right now? I love your paragraph on disruption. Without disruption, how would things change, right?
Yeah, I think it's very true. This is the essence of innovation. It's very easy for us to get locked into doing what we've always done in the ways we've always done it. And yet the context externally is shifting rapidly. So as we look at how do we operate in a world where our traditional models of bringing 40, 50 people together in a room, that's just not going to happen in the near term. So how do we explore ways to continue the mission and the values of Esalen over new mediums, in new ways? And although we have only just this week, I think last week actually, been able to start to do indoor massage again, how can we bring some level of support? It's never going to be the same. And I think to try to replicate an experience in an online world or in a different place, I don't know that is a successful path for us. But we can still have the similar outcomes and the same impact or greater impact if we look at new and innovative ways to do that. Our Esalen Healing Arts organization is right at the genesis of that process.
Well, I love that you wrote too that everywhere you go, people are saying now they want transformation. They want to make a difference in the world. They put things in perspective. This challenging year has done this for many, many people. But how do you see, I think people need to understand, Esalen is not a hotel. It's not a resort. It's not even a spa. It's a retreat center. It's a mind-body center. So, how do you see Esalen's role for the new generation?
I think it is almost the same as it was in the 60s and the 70s when it was founded. It is about creating that moment in people's life where they just have that interrupt and recognize that they are capable of something more than they thought. They ask themselves a question which they really didn't want to ask. And then they sit with that. And we're doing that across multiple verticals. We are not a hotel. We are a transformational experience. And I don't think I've found anybody yet who has been to property and spent any time there that leaves quite the same as they came. But it is that opening. It's that ability to access higher and higher parts of Maslow's pyramid, ultimately into actualization. But as we speak to the new generation, I think it's also a portion of listening to them. What is meaningful to them? I wrote an article and collaborated with an online journal around the difference between the experiential and the transformational economies. So about in the 90s, I think it was, this notion of, may have been early 2000s, of the experiential economy, or the experience economy came out. People were seeking adrenaline kind of activities. They wanted to explore a country they hadn't been to. They wanted to bungee jump, parachute, attend big festivals, those kinds of things. And I believe that we are actually stepping more into what's being defined as the transformational economy. People want access to activities that are going to make them a better human being when that activity is over. And that's the difference between this experiential and transformational economy. And that is a mix. It can be done partly online, in person, all online, because each individual human has different needs, has different aspirations, and starts at a different place. So, I think it's very important to recognize this transformational desire that many people in this world have right now.
I was trying to put it into words, and I was like, it is Mecca for self-actualization, transformation. So it's almost like you want to be a great chef, you have to go to the Cordon Bleu, or at least study under someone who's been to the Cordon Bleu. So the same with the healing arts. Okay, maybe you can't go there, but how about, the legacy being passed on? Now, Terry, I'm going to try. I'm not really great at this, but look at that tub view that I had from after my massage. And then this is a view from your front lawn. If you turn, you can see the burnt hill. And then this is where the bathhouse is. What are we talking about? It's so crazy. I don't know how to get out of this. Here.
Yeah, there it is. Perfect.
We're all learning. But Terry, just take us home with what gives you hope. What gives you hope, having gone through 2020 and the life that you've led and the kitchen journey to Esalen? What gives you hope?
What gives me hope? I think just humanity and human beings give me hope, honestly. The people that I bump into at the tubs, on the lawn of Esalen, walking through the gardens, the conversations, people have curiosity. They want to be a better version of themselves. And that is the hope. I think if we can all strive to be more, have a better awareness, more connection, the fact that desire is still there and present in the people that I meet on the grounds of Esalen and out in the world, that's what gives me hope. That curiosity, that desire for connection, reconnection, and the growing sense of awareness that people have every day of their part in the world gives me a lot of hope. A lot of hope.
Well, we kept saying when we were there meeting, if not now, when? It's so apropos that the 60s are like the 2020s. There's such social unrest. There's such anxiety. And it feels like Esalen and the Springs are just waiting there with open arms to spread, balance and hope and connectivity.
Yeah, the parallels, honestly, when we look at them between the 60s and between now and the 20s, there are so many common threads. I agree with you. I think Esalen, during the 80s and the 90s, we were a really great organization for many, many people. But I think we're going to step back in to a place where the world can take advantage and benefit from what we have been doing here on the edge of California at 55,000 Highway 1 for decades. And I hope that people will be able to experience that, and we'll be able to take it out beyond just this place known as Esalen in Big Sur. It is translatable. It can grow, and as a 501c3 organization, we are mission focused. So it's about how do we have more and more impact in the world and share these things so that people can look at them, and if it's right for them and the time is right for them, they can adopt this. They can explore the practices that we promote, the great teachers that we have through here, the philosophers, the practitioners. And I hope that one day, everybody will get to experience an Esalen healing arts experience. And I hesitate to call it a massage because, as you said earlier, it is so much more than that. These are incredibly skilled practitioners who give of themselves significant personal energy and wisdom to share with the people they work with. Yeah.
So, hot tub diplomacy for the planet and wisdom for the ages. We're so glad you're there, Terry, because we're going to need you now more than ever. So, thank you for spending some time with us. And I'll see you on Highway 1, if not before. Okay? His connection ended. You can see all this. Tell your friends on the Global Wellness Summit Instagram page if you'd like to review it or share it with someone. Thank you.